we've been talking this week about the Panthers rebuilding and trying to find some draft assets. There's a couple of guys that you could probably trade to get something in return.
This is why you always follow Luke DeCock's rule of a season. Never say it can't get any worse than this.
It can.
Because it always can get worse.
It can. Adam Schefter on Twitter, Panthers safety, Jeremy Chin, significant quad injury that is expected to sideline him up to 6 weeks per league sources. Chin does not need surgery, but he also is in the last year of his contract, scheduled to be a free agent after the season. So it went from, hey, let's see if we can get a box of footballs for Jeremy Chin to, we ain't getting anything for Jeremy Chin. And that actually leads us to where things have gone for the Carolina Panthers this season in general. And it's been offensively, the guys that you surrounded Bryce Young with did not pan out or have not panned out. Your offensive line has regressed. However, the buried lead for the Panthers this year isn't about Bryce Young. It's about the defense, which is one of the things that they're supposed to be good at. But
well, they were when they played a different formation.
There's that. And you know when they're also good? When they've got the bodies on the football field. Sure. And that's been a big problem. This is from Threads, from J-Rod NFL Draft. He does, I think it's Cat Crave is the blog, the website. Carolina Panthers have been brutalized with injuries, and he listed them all out. It's one of these like, oh, has he been hurt? Has he been hurt? He laid it all out. Shaq Thompson, J.C. Horn, Dante Jackson, Xavier Woods, Von Bell, Frankie Louvu, Jeremy Chin, Marquise Haynes, all of them have actually missed significant time or missed in-game time, a quarter plus this upcoming season. And again, that's one of those things where if you're going to be good at all at defense, you need the bodies on the field, and that's what the Panthers just have not had this season. And that adds layers to them not being good, and why I don't think coming out of the bye week, they're going to beat the Houston Texans. People have been kind of marking this one as an opportunity to win. No, man, not from what I've seen from this team, not from what I've seen defensively, not from what I've seen offensively. And you think the referendum on Bryce Young is loud now? What's going to happen when CJ Stroud gets the QB wins over the Carolina Panthers, Joe? That's going to be a problem. Speaking of which,
just get Dalton out there. Let's get the one win out of the way.
Yeah, that might be it. Mike McDaniel was asked by Joe Shad. Joe Shad used to be a college football insider for ESPN. He's been working at the Palm Beach Post covering the Dolphins now for a few years. And Shad set McDaniel up, really. I knew what Shad was doing. It was hey, people are calling Tua Tagovailoa system QB, which I have thoughts on. Here's McDaniel's response, which I thought was great.
There are some folks who believe that many quarterbacks in this scheme, with you as the coach, with Tyreek and Jalen, maybe even many quarterbacks would excel, would flourish, would be near the top of the passer rater leading MVP candidate. What, if any, pushback is there relative to, wait, no, hold on. Tua is a little bit.
Let's push this podium over. My answer to that would be, who the F cares? Because it is a team. We're working together, and I know one thing. I've coached stuff a long time. I haven't seen people do what our guys do.
So anyway, that was Mike McDaniel responding to Joe Shad, and I enjoyed that. Who the F cares? Ultimately, yes, who the F cares? But nationally, we can't have deeper conversations other than, well, did the quarterback win or did the quarterback lose? Which gets to the MVP conversations, right? So here's what bothers me about conversations like this. You think, and you and I have had disagreements about this with Bryce Young too.
Okay.
We judge quarterbacks based on our subjective view of whether or not they're elite. And we want to give them all the credit when they win and all the blame when they lose, as if defenses matter, as if guys dropping balls don't matter, as in all sorts of things that play out in the course of a game. Because yes, it is a team sport. But when a guy has success and they break off our preconceived notion of what we think a quarterback should be, we then want to diminish from them and use the classic, well, he's just a system QB. If it was that simple, then why don't they just go out and get any old quarterback off the scrap heap to, quote unquote, run the system? There's this weird devaluing of a guy that's actually going out there and executing exactly what the coach wants. Isn't that what you should want? You have a game plan. You have the receivers. You have the skill positions. You do need somebody to conduct it. And this idea that, take this guy and put him in here and they would have the same success. Are you sure about that? Number one. Number two, it also shows you that maybe we should dislodge ourselves about whether or not the quarterback should be the MVP or not. Because, well, if anybody could run it because he's got all these people around him, well, then doesn't that devalue the position of quarterback?
Pretty sure we were having the same conversation about Joe Montana back in the day.
Probably.
Yeah.
Look at he's got Jerry Rice. He's got
Hall of
this.
Famers.
He's all
got
these
Bill
guys.
Walsh.
Right?
Yeah.
To wrap my point on this with this idea
I can't decide if you're trying to fight with me over Tua Tagovailoa. I don't have any problems with Tua Tagovailoa. My issues with Bryce Young are the same.
It's not a fight with you. It's more with the fight of the dismissal of needing good people around you to succeed.
Don't we all?
We do. So when I say that the Panthers need to get better, it's not that I'm trying to defend Bryce Young. I'm just simply trying to say, put any quarterback in that situation. How are they going to do?
Right.
Take your MVP. Take Brock Purdy, put him on the Panthers. What's going to happen? Oh, now you've put Brock Purdy in a position where he has to win a football game?
Probably Will Grier.
What are you going to get?
Probably Will Grier.
Right. So that's my point.
I think it's Bryce Young because, remember, this is the one-to-one comparison because Brock Purdy did great on what was the name of the test?
I forgot
I'll
the
never
name of the
remember
test.
it.
Wii Sports.
Yeah, whatever the heck it is. That's the reason they drafted him.
So
because he did great on some test that Bryce.
Maybe I'm not doing
it.
It's entirely possible I'm not doing a good enough job getting my point across in that when we have these MVP conversations, when we try to find the value of the QB or not, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, but what I don't understand at all about the MVP conversation is who really cares who the MVP of the NFL is?
We do.
We manufacture this as a season-long storyline.
It's a debate.
When it's not.
Come on my podcast and debate me, Joe.
Who was the MVP in 2020? I have no idea.
Actually, I forgot.
I have no idea.
I also,
it was probably a quarterback, but I have no idea.
That's possible.